www.healthcmi.com. Acupuncture, continuing education online. Today, acupuncture test anxiety relief confirmed. This research is very interesting. Now, you can go to healthcmi.com, click on news, and you're right into the article in our news department. Everyone's welcome, and our news service is free. Here, university researchers conducted a clinical trial of undergraduate students who suffered from test anxiety, which is a type of performance anxiety. And the results demonstrate that acupuncture reduces pre-examination anxiety, even in the long term, and also reduces associated sleep disturbances. The researchers used the Hamilton Anxiety Rating Scale and the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index scores to get the detailed results. They confirmed that two types of acupuncture were effective, a standard body style acupuncture and also a form of scalp acupuncture. Both were very effective types. So for licensed acupuncturists, they can go there and see the points used, how it was done, what type of needles were used, how long it took. Knowing what I saw there, I would say that the average layperson would get this treatment would have a deeply relaxing experience. This is obviously not just a treatment for test anxiety, but for generalized anxiety. Points like Shishen Sung located on the scalp, for example, and Shen Men located on the wrist, and San Yin Jiao, spleen 6, located on the leg. These points are deeply relaxing. So for the patient, it's an enjoyable experience. And a lot of people who are new to acupuncture say, what? Putting needles in someone is an enjoyable experience? I say, we need to move on from that. That's like saying doing really hard stretching that is difficult to achieve in different positions is deeply relaxing. Really? Well, surprise that yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong can be profoundly relaxing, even spiritual. Same thing, acupuncture, if we move beyond the application of needles, which again, this art has been perfected over 2,500 years. It activates brain centers and physiologic processes that can deeply relax the body. It can be somewhat profound. And I would also say that if acupuncture was uncomfortable for all this time, it would not be so popular. The truth is that it can be very comfortable. Not all acupuncture treatments are very comfortable. There are more aggressive styles for different situations, but for the most part, it's a relatively comfortable treatment, particularly this type of treatment. Certain types of treatments within Chinese medicine, including the treatment of insomnia or migraines, which acupuncture is tremendously good at reversing and sometimes permanently eliminating, are very comfortable treatments. Again, don't believe me, take a look at the research. If you go to news, you can see the research on insomnia treatments. You can see extensive research on the treatment of migraines. I would say that if someone is suffering from chronic migraines and isn't getting acupuncture, that's a horrible thing because that's such a debilitating and terrible thing. Now, this is a little more subtle because in some ways, as a society, we may accept that young people should live with a certain amount of anxiety over schooling, but this is deleterious to their overall health and psyche. So what we want to do is, for students with this issue, is to ameliorate it as much as possible. Acupuncture is not going to eliminate it completely, but these results show that these students will sleep better and have significantly less anxiety around their examinations. And this is because different systems are activated when someone is thinking towards the future. This goes deeply into what in Chinese medicine we call the 7 emotions. And over-concentrated thinking and thinking about the future like that and not living in the present tense can be very stressful in the human body. Looking at it from an autonomic nervous system point of view, it's really excess stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system, and there isn't proper parasympathetic tone, and that's exactly what acupuncture can restore. And that's why acupuncture is so incredibly relaxing. If we look at further research at healthcmi.com, we know that acupuncture restores the DMN, the default mode network. And there is a plethora of research on this topic. So what is that? These are functional connections that the brain makes when it rests. And if there's chronic anxiety or even acute anxiety, this can be disturbed, and acupuncture can restore that. Put very simply, any activity that we engage in, whether it's picking up a pencil or thinking of doing something or running or dancing, whatever you're doing, there are certain brain centers that are activated for that activity and certain centers that are deactivated. And that complex of areas that are activated and deactivated are similar across all humans. It's a normal human response to, let's say, movement of the arm in a particular direction or movement of a pencil across a page. Certain centers are activated and deactivated. That's just how the human brain works, and it is similar across all humans in a normal environment. However, when there's mental health issues or physical issues, that can be disturbed, and some centers remain deactivated when they need to be activated, and vice versa. So what acupuncture can do is restore the default mode network, and that has been extensively tested with MRI studies, magnetic resonance imaging studies. And what we know is that at rest, the human brain must deactivate certain centers and activate certain centers to have proper relaxation, to allow parasympathetic tone, to prevent overexcitation of the sympathetic nervous system. And that is what acupuncture can achieve by restoring the DMN, allowing the proper functional connectivity of the brain to be restored for relaxation. So that will play into this. And these researchers have mapped out very specific numbers of what can be expected and exactly what type of treatment protocols are needed to achieve the results. So that's why this research on test anxiety is important. And I don't think it's healthy to underestimate the pressures on children or young adults getting an education and going through these anxieties. As we know, children can often have issues with long-term mental health issues as a result of anxiety. And keep in mind that the younger children are growing and the young adults are still growing and learning and socially adjusting. And then having these pressures and deadlines put on them, this is somewhat new for them. They haven't had a chance to adjust. So the stress can be quite extreme and even deleterious to physical health. So when you have that type of issue and we have some solutions, it is optimal to provide some type of relief for these people in these situations such that this does not become an overwhelming issue in their lives. A little anxiety perhaps is normal, and perhaps even a little bit of excitement towards something is healthy. But here we're talking about a sample of students that were used in the study who had very unhealthy levels of test anxiety, and they had tremendously high rates of recovery. And it was measured in tiers, so you had everything from markedly effective, of course cured, markedly effective, effective, and ineffective cases to bring in the total effective rates. And in all cases, when students had acupuncture, they definitely improved, and in the overwhelming majority for anxiety. But for sleep, almost all of the patients had improvements in sleep. So across the board, it was 100% total effective rate. That's everything from cured to somewhat effective. So it's a huge range. Nonetheless, the acupuncture reduced the anxiety in all cases, but when it came to sleep, just most cases. That's a little harder, takes a little bit longer to achieve. Nonetheless, there was a fair percentage that were completely cured or met the markedly effective rate. And the study gets in the statistics exactly what is a score, a HAMA score, PSQI scores that achieve those tiers of improvement. So it's a good study. It's not an isolated study. There's a lot there. And to really learn more about mental health issues, anxiety issues, go to Health CMI, click on news, and see what we have there. We have the research coming out of China, Taiwan, Japan, Korea, the United States, England, Australia. It's more widespread. There's more happening than people realize. There's a lot of research into not only clinical trials, how acupuncture gets results and what results to expect, but even more functional studies looking at the mechanisms of acupuncture and what it does in the brain, what it does to the bloodstream, what it does to the nervous system to achieve homeostatic balance. So there's a lot out there, more than people would realize, because a lot of the really great research has evolved in the last 10 years. So much is happening right now that in order to really be abreast of what's happening in acupuncture, one must really stay on top of the news. It's just coming out at a faster rate, and it's a very exciting time. It really is a new golden age of Chinese medicine, and it's really something exciting because it does provide solutions in some cases to things we did not have solutions to before. And I would say beyond that, taking a softer approach with acupuncture and other types of relatively non-invasive therapy. So that's everything from mindfulness and meditation to Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, many types of things. A little more clinical, getting into acupuncture, herbal medicine, things like this. It is a slightly softer touch on the body, let's say the liver and kidneys, than going right in the pharmaceutical medications. So for those who really aren't in danger, they're not suicidal, they're not suffering from very clinically severe depression, this approach might be a better starting point to really prevent a snowball of mental health issues as a result of anxiety experienced due to the academic calendar. Something to really take a look at. And I just want to thank everyone for listening today. Go ahead. The article was published March 27, 2019 at healthcmi.com entitled Acupuncture Test Anxiety Relief Confirmed. So when you go to the news link, there's actually another link that appears below it called View All News Articles, and you can see thousands and thousands of articles and really get a feeling for specifically what acupuncture can treat and what it can't treat. It doesn't do everything, but traditional Chinese medicine is a complete system of internal medicine, and different application modalities are better at particular things. Herbs tend to be able to address some things, acupuncture better to address others, movement therapy, bone medicine, many types of things, meditation, qigong therapy, Tui Na therapy, which is a type of massage, things like this. Each style or application or procedural approach has its fortes. So acupuncture, in terms of anxiety relief, can be quite powerful. In my own clinic, I would say that it's not uncommon to see young people coming in who are experiencing some anxiety. I find that they can get it from the work environment. When they really just enter the work environment, it's a little bit of a shock on the system. Of course, they're going through examinations and boards. This type of thing can also be a lot of pressure. And it's so nice to give them a healthy chance to not have to engage in so much stress that they develop body armor that really prevents them from being happy, ultimately, or falling into depression, or having issues like disturbances of sleep, which can cause severe health issues. So this is why this topic is so important. Here we have 2 exact procedures outlined, and that's a tendency within Health CMI. We like to present articles not only for the doctor and the acupuncturist to look at the exact procedures, how to get the job done, what to expect, but also just for what a patient might expect from a treatment and what type of results you might expect. And this article will be great for that. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm Adam White, licensed acupuncturist. We'll speak to you a little bit in our next podcast, www.healthcmi.com.